That's very true. Look, can you walk us through the idea of cost-free model that how it actually works?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's making yourself accessible to business owners, right? Um, Being willing to give to them, giving them some free advice, sharing your wealth of knowledge, things you know about operating businesses with them. It's not all about your focus on in every conversation should never be how do I make an introduction that I'm going to make money, right? Your first focus should always be how do I provide as much value to this business owner in terms of helping them solve their problem. That should drive every single decision in terms of whether or not you make an introduction, and if so, who you make that introduction to. Your credibility, your reputation is, that's your value. The money that you make really is just a byproduct of the goodwill that you impart. And that's, one of the things that, I try and indoctrinate in people who are interested in leveraging their network in order to make introductions and generate residual sources of revenue from extending their network in the way that I'm doing, is, we all own a marketplace of our solution providers, as I referenced earlier on this show. The only difference of me is that I'm figuring out a way how to monetize my marketplace while extending goodwill to other business owners. And so the question is, why don't more people engage in this type of intentional model of monetizing their network by extending vendors that they've identified are best in class and can help people that they talk to? Because they're making these introductions all day long. I mean, how many people who are watching this have gotten a call in the last week from a colleague or other business owner, and they said, hey, do you know anyone? I've got this challenge that I'm facing in business. Do you know anyone you think could help me or you used in the past? And you say, oh yeah, I've got a guy for you. And you make an introduction. The only difference between you and me is that I've got a framework in place in order to monetize on that transaction, and you may not. And the reason that you don't do it is because primarily, I believe that we've all been brainwashed to believe that if you are receiving a remuneration as a result of extending your network, somehow any goodwill that could have been behind that introduction is somehow eradicated or undermined, right? It's as if those two concepts are mutually exclusive from one each other. Goodwill, remuneration, they can't live in the same place. And that's a fallacy. And so I spend a lot of time talking to people about how that's not true. In fact, it is the remuneration itself that provides an incentive to me and to others to spend more of our time extending goodwill and helping small business owners solve their most pressing issues.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think I'm playing a little bit devil's advocate because I do agree with you about this whole idea. I'm part of a networking group which does help people. If you make an introduction and they buy, then they give you a part of the deal. So I do agree with that, but I'm on devil's advocate sort of positioning.
Sure.
Some people might say that by making a fee for an introduction, then that's turning that relationship into a transaction, and therefore a transaction deduces or reduces the value of you saying, I've got someone that I believe will be able to help you with that challenge. How do you counter that?
Yeah, well, I would say, first of all, it's a fallacy as long as you do not fall prey to the perverse incentive of making an introduction purely for the reason of making money. And really, the reason you're making the introduction is driven by your interest in helping them resolve their issue as efficiently as possible. Then that completely eliminates that argument, right? So you're making the introduction in order to help them solve the problem. Any type of remuneration that you receive is simply a byproduct of the goodwill that you've actually conveyed, right? So again, it's all part of the brainwashing that we've, that if it's been indoctrinated to us that, oh, you couldn't be spreading goodwill if you were receiving payment, but it's only if you fall prey to that perverse incentive where you're not making the introduction for the purpose of helping them solve their problem. That undermines.
Yeah,
them.
if you're giving a bad solution provider,
Right.
then you're just taking the money for that deal rather than actually helping them.
And guess what? That person's never going to come to you again,
Yes.
ask you for an
Yes.
introduction. I kind of jokingly say to people, like, I don't know if you've seen Pulp Fiction, obviously. Harvey Keitel's character in the movie is a guy.
Oh yeah, love it. Yeah,
a wolf, right?
yeah.
You got brains in your back seat. I'm the guy you call. I kind of, that's what I tell people is like, I want to be the guy that you call every single time you've got a problem, right?
Yeah.
You've got a challenge, call me. I've likely got a place that I can send you because I've had all the problems you've had, right? And I don't want you to have to experience that problem again. That's my nature, is that I'm a fixer. Like, I want to help people solve their problems. So as I started this business, I was really just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the next iteration of my life, like the reinvention of who I was. And I spent my time talking to business owners purely for the purpose of trying to help them not step on the landmines that I'd stepped on. Right. And so I started making introductions.